chat.
And we are live, and we're already talking bad about our regular viewers.
No, we're not.
Well, yeah, EL, I mean,
I'm not talking bad about him.
oh, you should have heard what Rose said. It's terrible. I
Fuck
blushed.
you, man.
Anyway, the reason
That is
why we're
so untrue. We love you, EO.
the reason why we're here is to clown around, but also to have Mr. Gregory Michael, who has one of the best last names I think we've ever had. So, Greg, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Yeah, no, it's great to be here. I really appreciate you inviting me on. It was actually really exciting to get your message on Twitter. You were like, "Hey, Greg, it's, nice to meet you. I want to have you on the podcast because you're bald." And then I told you like, "Hey, I've actually written a book," and you were like, "That's even better." So then it was just everything kind of just kismet, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's how you're getting people on the show now? Is if they're bald, you just invite them on?
uh-huh.
Whether or not they've written a book, but in this case, it just worked out. So, no, super excited to be here.
I did offer Poppy and Laura Huey. I said, if either one of you want to shave your heads, you can be a new, host of the show. But both of them said their husbands would object to that, and they declined.
Right. That's fair.
Which is probably good. But what do I know? There you go. EL is here.
We got the countdown started.
And half of the Timocracy is here, so that's good. So anyway, Chloe's Kingdom. This is a romantasy, right?
It's not romantasy. There, I could recommend a few good romantasies, but not romantasy.
Oh, wait, hold on. Okay.
Before Mark.
EL,
Before we started,
I beat you to the harpoon, Michael. So, or Mike, yeah, sorry about that.
EL, in all fairness, we said that within 45 seconds of you coming onto the chat, you would ask about that thing on the wall. And it took you 35 seconds. So beers are on me, boys.
So tell us, why does a person living in Arizona have a harpoon?
Yeah, often. Have you ever heard of desert whales? They don't exist, but no. Yes. Yeah, so I'm a cybersecurity advisor in my day job. And that's actually a trophy I received from my executive team after I finished a project with a very large client. And so, yeah, it was like landing a whale. But the funny story about it was I got that harpoon, and it might not do it justice on the wall, but it's about 6 feet long. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's 6 feet long, and it has a sharp point, sharp enough to probably do some damage. But I got it in Nashville, and when I was traveling, and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't going to fit in my carry-on. And so I had to walk down Main Street in Nashville with a harpoon at 8 a.m. in the morning. I might have been hungover as well. And so I'm just walking down the street with this harpoon. Anyone who's coming within like 30 feet of me, like immediately just crosses the road. They're like, "Nope, I'm not doing this. Not today. Like, I can't do this." And I was just like, and you can't hide a harpoon when you're walking. You know what I mean?
If you're hungover, because you get that whole walk of shame vibe going.
Yeah, and I'm just like, walking with it like this. And I finally eventually found a FedEx, and it took them like, an hour to figure out how to put together like 4 boxes to ship it back home to me. But yeah, it's a prized possession. I love it.
I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to tell us further about the story you had when you went through TSA with the harpoon.
Oh, that would have been actually a good story. Yeah, it's actually one of my coworkers was like, "You could go through TSA with that." I was like, "Absolutely not." I was like, "You're out of your mind." But maybe, who knows? But yeah, no. So no.
You can see the headlines now, though, right?
Oh yeah,
Man tries to take over airplane with 6-foot-long harpoon.
Yeah, and then you'd be like, "I'm not getting off this plane. I need to go home."
Back.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So, alrighty. So EL is in rare form tonight. What about the racket?
I haven't played tennis that much recently, more because I have a toddler and most of my spare time goes towards that. But I played in college and played after college and stuff like that. So yeah,
So it's just a
And
convenient place to store it now, is it?
that specific racket's out of commission. I don't use that one anymore, and so I thought it'd be a good wall decoration. Yeah.
and EL's not done yet.
Are there
Not
any
really.
other interior design questions you have, EL, or can we
Yeah, I
start
mean,
talking about his
yeah,
book
I
a little
like it.
bit?
I often like kind of forget what's behind me sometimes, but yeah. So my mom got that for me, the stack of stones, after we went to Hawaii one year.
Ah,
Yeah,
so we should have probably warned you about EL before you came on, but it's more fun if we just surprise you.
yeah, and then the different random pictures are movies and TV shows I like. So that one is Seven. This one is Dexter. That one is Inception. That one is Interstellar. That Lost in Translation and Mindhunter. A
Mike, have you seen any of those films?
Uh, no.
man's wall certainly does describe his soul. I agree with that.
So I'm curious what EL thinks my wall says. I'm not going to ask Ro because I know where he's going to go if I do.
Not even gonna go there.
And Ro is a man of mystery, and you don't get to see his wall. So,
Well, it's the
One
wall of the
day.
Marriott, so it's not much to see.
so now we got EL. You've just made him want to ask more questions. But that's okay. He'll be banned probably within the next like 14 minutes or so. It's a common occurrence here. Um,
So your job as a salesperson, and obviously, judging by your wall, a rather proficient salesperson at that, that must mean the selling part of books is just super easy for you and no problem at all, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's it does soften the blow a little bit because I've been advising in cybersecurity and been selling it for gosh, like 13, 14 years now. And you get a lot of no's along the way. And so, I think like any author, especially an indie author, we often don't like get like super stellar starts, especially with our first book. And so, but it's all part of the journey. And yeah, I think some aspects of it, especially the marketing aspect of it does help a little bit, but yeah, it's also challenging. It's challenging when you have your career, you have your family, you have your writing, you have just all these things, your hobbies, your other hobbies, and things like that, and balancing it all. So it's always interesting.
Yeah, see, what I tried to do is just get rid of all those things except the family and the job. So, like, no hobbies, friends, outside interests, anything like that. And I found that it really doesn't help at all. But yeah, I'll
Yeah,
give it a shot.
yeah.
so
It's like what do they say? It's like people that like to enjoy like a cocktail from time to time. They're like, I only drink alone or with friends. You know, either way, you're working out.
Right?
so Chloe's Kingdom is basically a heist story, right?
Yeah, so it's a fast-paced sci-fi heist. It's set in outer space. It revolves around three younger teens. Definitely written in a young adult vibe. However, it can be enjoyed by any age. And and yeah, I'd probably say one of the more unique things about it is it's very short chapters, like very bite-sized chapters in different POVs, so different points of view, and it some of the chapters might take you a minute or 2 minutes to read,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and but I kind of did that on purpose because I wanted to keep the pages turning, and at least all the feedback I've gotten, it's working.
Interesting.
What
Yeah,
made you decide to go young adult?
I didn't actually plan it. I didn't necessarily plan it. Just the characters I chose were around like the 15 to 16-year-old age frame, and I just kind of wrote it something that was appropriate to them and how they would be acting and like what would be like their interests and things like that. And yeah, and then past that, I just and then once I kind of realized it was more around young adult, I just kind of went with it and I enjoyed it. Also, probably leading up to it, I read a lot of young adult as well. I read all the Harry Potter series before I wrote Chloe's Kingdom, all of the Grishaverse, so like Six of Crows, Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo. I read all of that. I read all the Hunger Games, and so I was definitely in like a YA mode, and so that probably had a little bit to do with it as well.
Yep.
Is that your first book?
It's my first, yeah. Been writing since probably like 2014, so a little over a decade. The first thing I ever wrote was a movie script, and I've always growing up and still to today, I'm a huge TV and movie buff. It's like it's a, I don't know if it's a good thing to brag about, but I've definitely put in my 10,000 hours. And so, and so, yeah. And, but, eventually I kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, I can write a story. I have something in me to write a story. And so the first thing I decided to write was a movie script because it was like the easiest from you don't need to put in a lot of description like a book. And because I didn't go to school for writing or anything. I went for business management and marketing. And so, and then when I realized I didn't want to make a movie or try to push a movie script, I was like, all right, let me write books. And so that first story I wrote is still on the shelf. It will be published someday. I'm actually hoping maybe by the end of the year. It's like a very audacious goal, but the next book that's going to come out is for my first book I published was Chloe's Kingdom. The next one that's going to come out is the second one in the series, which is part of a trilogy. And then the other story I've written is going to be a standalone novel.
Nice.
So as someone who's put in their 10,000 hours of movie time, maybe you can solve a couple of questions that we've had now for quite a while. First of all, I guess, and even though we're a little past it in the calendar, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
This has been debated. I even a few years ago, I went back and I watched it just to be sure because it had been a while. And I was like, no, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I watched it this year for the first time in probably 15 years or so. And yeah, it's got all the hallmark characteristics, right?
It does.
I mean, she's kind of left him to go to the big city and get a job. He comes back to find her with his country ways, and they fall in love over the holidays and, kill a few German terrorists along the way. It's all just right there.
I mean, what Christmas movie isn't complete without killing a couple terrorists? I mean, if you ask me.
Right. Okay. Mike, do you have any other big pressing movie questions that you think we should ask?
No. I mean, I agree with you. It's hard to find someone who doesn't think Die Hard. Now, EL here is saying that First Blood is also a Christmas movie.
Oh, God.
So, this is what you've started. Oh, wow. That'll scare your kids.
Alan Rickman is Santa Claus. That's awesome. How old are you, Greg?
I am 37 years young.
Okay, so that's going to cloud this answer a little bit. But if you had to pick a trilogy of Star Wars films, which one? The order is the first trilogy, which is 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Or the second.
So my favorite ones are 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
But I will be honest, is the ones that I remember the most in my head are 1, 2, and 3. The next trilogy because I saw those ones in theater. So those are the ones that like for some reason like stick with me a little bit more, and the scenes, because I saw them in the movie experience. I never was able, unfortunately, to, even though they sometimes do like movie nights of the old Star Wars movies, I never got to. And sometimes that experience just kind of stays with me in my memories a bit more. And so, but I've seen pretty much all of them I've seen all the ones that have gone into movies, I believe, but I haven't seen any like the Disney TV shows or anything like that.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So EL, probably Ro and I all saw 4, 5, and 6 in the theater when the years they came out. So
yeah, I mean, I totally wish, but yeah, I was not born yet.
Well, Tim Wolf says that's not an excuse because,
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's the problem. Is like I totally, there probably was a time where if I was paying enough attention, I could have saw them in theaters, but yeah.
And just to make everyone uptight, I have never seen The Mandalorian and probably never will.
Actually, that doesn't suck. It's okay.
Oh, well, my brother Dan, who's Dan M here, he would probably yell at you because he thinks it's wonderful. But
I what I always say too is like I'm not like the toughest on TV and movies. I think like I think what happened over the years is that people all think that they just want it to be like how they want it to be. It's like, but like you can't please everyone. So I usually just try to find like bits and pieces in movies and TV shows that I like, and just go from there. And yeah, I totally agree. Jar Jar Binks, easily the best character in Star Wars.
Wow, I almost deleted you. You almost got to be a first on this show and got
just
kicked
like
off.
Ejected just straight out.
Yep,
Yeah.
Don't know what happened. He's gone.
if we're going down this road, I guess we have to talk about Star Trek captains.
No, we don't have to. Are you a Trekkie at all?
Not actually. Like I've seen like the new movies, but I didn't watch any of the TV shows or anything like that. I kind of came to a point where I needed to choose, and I chose Stargate and Battlestar Galactica.
The new Battlestar Galactica?
The new one, yeah.
Okay, not the Lauren Green one.
No, but I had to come to a point where I was
There's
like,
a name you don't hear dropped into conversation very often.
But yeah, it was like at one point I was like, okay, I need to choose something where I'm going to be watching like well over 100 episodes of, and it was Stargate. I decided that, and I really enjoyed the show actually, and obviously Battlestar Galactica, even the new one, I think is incredible. So yeah, Star Trek unfortunately didn't make the list at that point.
That's quite all right.
Battlestar Galactica, the first 2 seasons were great. Then it kind of got a little silly, but
yeah. So what I know we're supposed to be talking about books and everything, but what are you watching right now?
Oh, what am I watching right now? So I just finished. Give me a second, let me think. So I just finished. What was the show I was watching? So I let me think for a second. Hold on. Okay, it was on Prime. It was on Max. It was. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I just finished Silo season 1. So I did watch Silo season 1. I really enjoyed it. I really want to read the book series now, and I'm a couple episodes into season 2, but I'm behind, so I need to get through that. And I know what I was just. Okay, I'm sorry, I completely had brain fog there for a second, but the Penguin. I just finished The Penguin on HBO Max. Insanely good if you haven't seen it.
All right.
It's a spin-off of the latest Batman movie.
Of course, yeah.
And probably the best spin-off I have ever seen of any movie or TV show.
It's like DC only has 3 characters, right? It's like they've got hundreds. Do
I'm
something.
telling you though, they like the writing, the cinematography, the scenes, everything. It's incredible. I do need to watch Dune Prophecy. I've heard good things about it, and so I am interested to watch that. Yeah,
So-
Apple Plus has been absolutely killing it with the sci-fi stuff. I really love the show Foundation.
That was great. Yeah.
That show blew my mind. Like, it just came out of nowhere. Obviously, I know it comes from the book series, but like, just just the show, it's just so good.
This is going to bring the tone down a little bit, but that shouldn't be surprising. Lately, my son and I have been kind of binging, 5 episodes at a time of Shorzy.
Oh yeah, well, I love.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, well, no, I've seen some Shorzy, but the other show is
Letterkenny.
Yeah, I've seen all of Letterkenny, which is just, it's hilarious. I mean, probably the best group in Letterkenny is the gothic emo kids.
I've only ever seen like little clips on.
Oh my god, you gotta watch it.
Letterkenny. I've never actually watched an episode.
Funny, but yeah,
John Douglas has obviously seen Shorzy.
I'm telling you, you guys can just keep throwing them at me. I've seen a lot of stuff. I got put in my 10,000 hours.
I just want to throw this in here because it'll probably blow your mind. The last Batman movie I saw was from 1989 when Jack Nicholson was the Joker.
Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you should just see The Dark Knight. It's really good. It's like, I would say, you could stay away from the Ben Affleck one.
Batman Begins is really good.
I bought the ones where Val Kilmer was Batman, but I never watched them. I bought the DVDs way back when and then just gave them away to, somebody.
Thought you were going to say the Betamax version.
But yeah, definitely go and spend time and watch The Dark Knight, the trilogy. It's a good one.
I am very anti-hero, movies, books, whatever, superhero.
Is it because like they just came out with too much, or it's not your thing?
I'm just tired of them. I stopped. I keep asking, and my brother tells me.
How can you be tired of them? You've never seen any of them.
The last Marvel movie I saw was an Iron Man when he was trapped in Russia and had to build a whole new suit. I don't know what movie
that was. Iron Man 1, dude.
That's the last.
That was from 2008.
That's the last Marvel movie I saw, and I was like, I'm done with the whole Marvel universe. I don't need to see it.
This is DC, obviously, if you're talking about Dark Knight. And so it's nothing like the Marvel movies. It's nothing like Iron Man it's
no, it's not good. Mike, do you have a neighbor come to your house occasionally and like turn you toward the sun and water you? Something like that? Because, dude, you've got to get out more. This cannot be healthy.
I go into work 5 days a week. So
you work in a lab.
Well, yeah.
I live in Arizona, and I don't really have a good tan either. So
whereabouts in Arizona?
Scottsdale.
Okay. The reason you don't have a good tan is because you go outside and all your sweat immediately evaporates, leaving a layer of salt on your skin.
That is exactly correct.
I lived out by Phoenix for a bit.
Oh, cool.
And I hated it.
It's really nice right now.
In January,
summertime, we'll be like just
melting.
That perfect like surface of the sun temperature. So it'd be great.
Yeah. So when you write a book, love that segue, huh? Isn't that nice? Smooth. We're professional.
Yeah. So when I write books,
do you plot this whole thing out? I mean, you said you have a trilogy plan. Do you know what's going to happen all along the way, or do you just kind of wing that mother?
It's a great question. If we're talking about like the classic, like, are you a plotter or a pantser?
Yeah, but I wanted to stretch it out longer than that.
Yeah, I am 100% a pantser. Sit down in front of the computer and I have no idea what I'm going to write. And it comes out of me like an exorcism. And then afterward, I feel great. But no, it's, what I do is usually I start with an image or a scene of the last part of the book or something close to the last part of the book. And I then draw inspiration from that. And I will do like some low level outlining in the sense that I will outline certain of like the main characters in this in Chloe's kingdom. The kingdom is a drifting city spaceship. It's like a large spaceship with large habitable bubbles, and it's built enough to support hundreds, thousand, like over 1,000 people if it needs to be. But so I drew like a rough diagram or blueprint of what that would look like, so I can kind of like like I can keep track of like what the flow is of like when they're moving from one place of the ship to the next and things like that. But past that, when I sit down, I just have like a rough idea of where I'm going with it, and then it just goes. But my favorite thing to write, absolutely though, is dialogue. Dialogue is my jam. It just flows out of me very easily, effortlessly. If I have to write description, I gotta like focus in.
Yeah.
Really like, it's just that's the tough thing for me, and it's just.
See, I kind of legitimize that by saying I want the reader to visualize this person how they want to visualize them.
Yeah.
Right. So I
mean,
don't want to ruin that for them. Like,
I think what I've heard a lot from really great writers is like to trust your reader. And, often it's sometimes like naturally we want to write like on the nose. We want to be like, oh, this and every little detail down to like the point of like they, took in a breath and their heart beated and they took another breath. It's just like, you don't need to do all that. Like these are just human things that people do. And so it's like, but yeah, it's something that certainly finds its way in the editing phase where you're like, okay, I don't need to put all this crap in there.
Yeah. So do you write first person or third person?
Third person.
Only you write first person, Mike.
Fair.
Yeah, I would really love to write in first person. I love one of my favorite series is the Dexter novels. And that's from first person, it's in his head, but I don't know, like it's gonna be a whole new muscle if I do it. Yeah. I'm not sure I'm ready for it, but one day. Yeah. Do you ever make major critique? It's a good question. Not like sometimes I'll have to like reorder chapters just a little bit or like split up a chapter sometimes, but I don't necessarily have to. No, I usually don't like paint myself into a corner. I usually can tell when I'm doing that pretty quickly. When I'm writing, I'll be like, I know this is gonna like get me in trouble, or I'm in the editing phase of Chloe's Kingdom, The Lost Colony, which is the second novel that's coming out, and later in the story, I wrote something that I knew contradicted something early on, so I was like, okay, earlier on I need to fix that. But it wasn't like a huge big deal, but I kind of remember sometimes where I'm like, oh, that's going to mess with this, but like I need it based on what I'm writing now, that it's got to be this way. So it's a question though.
Do you write in order?
Like first chapter and go straight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you get to a point?
Yes.
Do you get to a point a dozen chapters in where you're bringing a character back into frame that you haven't used for a while and you've forgotten their name and you have to scroll back and find it? And
the side characters.
Yeah,
yeah, sure. Yeah, the side characters, like sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, like I'll be like, was it like sometimes I realize I named like two people Olivia. I'm like, I can't do that. Like, what am I doing? There's not that many people in the story. It's like, and so I go like, oh, I gotta adjust that. And so, and then I usually just find that sometimes in the editing process, because maybe I only mention a person like once or twice.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, usually what I do, if I do, like I like to write in order, but if I feel like I'm starting to get like caught or like I'm getting some form of writer's block, either what I'll do is I'll just take like a day break and just think about it. And I always like to think just in the back of my mind without me really having to do it, like the story's being written. But I'll also just go and edit the first chapter. If I'm absolutely stuck or I'm just like too tired to draft or my mind's just not in the right place, I will just be like, I'm just going to go back to the first chapter, read through it, edit it, because in my mind, it's like your first chapter can never, you can never put enough work into it.
Yeah.
Because the first chapter is the most important of mostly every story. It's the one that grabs the reader, et cetera. And so it's like, I'm always just like, if I need to, I'm just going to go in there, I'm going to edit it up.
It's not a bad plan.
So Tim had a good question a while back, but he was asking me, and I'm not the guest. So first of all, what group are you in for Spacebow?
I'm with the SSF Insiders.
Ah.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Bo and team.
And how have it gone? I'm jealous of you because you've actually got a review and you've heard something, whereas it's radio silence over here, and I'm losing my hair. And you know.
Yeah. You would think I haven't gotten any reviews, but no. No, it's my first review was from a gentleman named Joe. He liked a number of parts about it. Also gave some good constructive criticism. And then the other person who read it, full-time bookish, so Amanda, and I've spoken to her a ton, and I think she submitted her review. I've been very fortunate to have a ton of SSF insider reviews. I think I'm like up to like 5 or 6 now. So just like super, I'm always excited whenever a review comes out with them because I just think it's great what Bo put together. But yeah, no, so I think my next review should for the competition should probably be coming out within like I would say the next couple weeks, if not sooner. But we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yep. So last year I was in Spiffbo, and I was like, man, all the other groups they're putting things there, they're cutting people. My group, nothing. I'm like, man, if I'm in this long, it must be good news. And I checked right before work. I'm like, let's see if they cut anyone. They're like, our first 5 cuts. I'm like, all right, who's going to fall? Who's going to fall? Like in alphabetical order. Number 1, Becoming a Druid by Mike Ullman. And I was like, happy Monday. I'm going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but I always just think it's fun to enter these little competitions and see what happens.
If you make the finals, Mike, we'll squeeze you in. I'll interview you and we'll let you be a guest on the show.
I don't know. The scheduler we have is pretty terrible, so that might not happen.
That's all right. I'll make sure it works. I've got some connections. I know people.
So I think we're overdue for a silly sci-fi question.
Sure.
So here is the situation for you, Greg.
Okay.
First of all, have you read Dungeon Crawler Carl?
I read the first novel, actually quite recently.
Okay, so it's that type of situation. Aliens have come.
Okay.
And they've got ready to Dungeon Crawler Carl the whole planet, but they say, Greg, if you can put on an intergalactic talent show that wows us, we'll spare your planet. So what goes on in your talent show? What do you choose?
Bald&Balding.
So like, what are my specific talents, or
what are you going to put out there for? You should watch this. This is why humans are redeemable.
So like, what is great about humans and why we should maybe like live or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Gosh, I would probably just like start like running like a whole bunch of. I would like first like pop in like a DVD or stream like Independence Day, the movie. Just a little like subtle warning. I would just be like, okay, like, hey, we can fight back. I'm not afraid, type thing. I would definitely show some clips, like my favorite clips from like the UFC. Just like watch like some people like roundhouse kicking and stuff like that. We're ready. Like, we got this. Yes, solo synchronized swimming. That's, you're synchronizing with yourself. I like it. And then, gosh, what else? Probably like just like a bunch of like my favorite clips from Dexter. Just like I would want to be weird with it, to be honest.
That would make them think we're redeemable if you show them Dexter. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, a vigilante, if like it's not, he's almost like kind of like a fallen angel, if you will. But I don't know. That's just I think he's a great guy.
I would think you would want to stream all of the Doctor Who's because that gives us like years.
Yeah, so that would be good. But yeah, I mean, no, it's just
Any intelligent alien, however, would say, wait a minute. This guy has a machine that can travel through space and time, but he always ends up in a freaking little island in the middle of the North Atlantic? What the hell? That machine broke.
No, but I loved Dungeon Crawler Carl. I read it. I didn't listen to it, but I've heard you're supposed to listen to it. And I've never done an audiobook, believe it or not.
Oh.
Yeah, so that might be the first one. But yeah, I'm eager to get into the rest of the series, but my to be read stack of books is getting a little crazy.
Yeah, well, wait till you're older.
Bo is trying to infuse this thing with actual.
I like this. Yeah. So Bo, yeah, I would certainly say probably Instagram. The Bookstagram community has been very generous with me and reading and reviewing and posting videos and things like that. And shout out to the one and only Bookstabro Noah Brisk and his reviews. He was the first Bookstagrammer to say like, hey, Chloe's Kingdom looks really interesting. And then he read it, posted a video, 4.5 out of 5 stars. So, and then a whole bunch of people in the Bookstagram community started reading it. So, and then past that, I'd probably say the X group or the Twitter group I've fallen into. Just a really great group with Mike and just and Ro. It's just like just such great people that are all very supportive, and just met a lot of really great people down that as well.
And do you know Mons Camus?
That does not ring a bell.
Okay, and have you heard of Roadside Picnic? Because I've not heard of it, but I know that shocks no one.
I've not heard of Roadside Picnic.
Okay, well, there's that. We've not read it, so we understand at least as well as Mons Camus does.
Perfect.
All in the dark. So, what's your next 3 to 5 years looking like, book-wise? I mean, I know you got a little baby at home, so that's going to fill up a lot of time pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would say like soon. I'm hoping in like the next couple of years I could start, coaching soccer for my daughter, and I think that'd be really fun, or some tennis. But no, so certainly within this year and next year is to complete the Chloe's Kingdom trilogy. I also want to release a standalone novel that I was talking about. It has sci-fi elements to it as well, but that might be this year because it's fully written. I just need to go back through and edit it again, just because it's been so long. But it's actually my favorite story I've ever written. It's kind of, and it's like my book baby, so it's like kind of near and dear to my heart. Not my book baby that I published, but the first story I've ever written. And then past that, I don't know, like there's something in me that might wanna try to go outside of science fiction, but every time I go and get in front of my computer to write, whether I'm thinking about a new story or what have you, I always just gravitate towards sci-fi. Even though I was like, I think when I first started writing, I was like, I just finished like the Hannibal series. I just finished the Dexter series. And I was like, I'm going to write a serial killer novel. This is going to be great. And couldn't for the life of me. It just did not work. So, but the other standalone novel I had.
Setting it in space?
What's that? Yeah. Well, that's an idea actually. But yeah. So, but no, I mean, it's just, but maybe I want to try to step outside of sci-fi and see what I can do. But, we'll see.
So are you thinking like fantasy or horror, or if you step out?
I'm thinking horror, something around that. I I've been known to have a little bit of a dark humor at times, and I think it would be fun to write, something kind of dark and twisted. But I also know that some of the who is it, like Thomas Harris is his name, who wrote the Hannibal series. I know he said like it took a lot out of him to write it. It was like it just was very emotional and taxing to write the Hannibal novels. And I agree, because it's like when you read it, you're like, wow, this is like really messed up stuff, and it's incredible though. But it's you're bringing your mind to a place that maybe it shouldn't go.
See, and all I can think now is that you're going to be writing a horror movie like Hannibal or something, and you're going to be, oh, what's for dinner? And your wife's going to go, liver.
No, it's always that what you do is when it's like, hey, Mike, you know what? This was such a great conversation. I'd love to have you for dinner sometime.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah, but that is a quote from Hannibal, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, okay.
If you didn't know, but yeah,
I did not know.
It's a beautiful quote from Hannibal.
So do you use any special software for writing, or do you use Word? Do you use Scrivener, Google Docs because you hate yourself?
There's a lot of rock.
Yeah, so what I use now is Vellum.
Okay.
Yeah, so I originally actually started with Final Draft, because the first thing I ever wrote was a movie script, and then I moved into Microsoft Word, and then when I was publishing Chloe's Kingdom, I used Vellum to format it, but I actually fell in love with it. I love that it separates out the chapters, and you can move them if you need to, and it made it a lot easier to go back and forth between things. And I know you could do all that with Microsoft Word, but like you got to do like so much formatting and like really kind of geek out with Microsoft Word to get it to where you can like snap between chapters and things like that. But I love Vellum, so I've been using that, and it's been going really well. But it's only on Mac, so if anyone's thinking about it.
A lot of scrolling with your little mouse wheel on Word.
Oh yeah, like a lot of scrolling and like, I don't know. Yeah, it was like, but and also just something about, yeah, I don't know. Microsoft Word just it didn't really do it for me, when it seemed more challenging with the formatting, especially when you want to like transfer it over to something else. It just, everything kind of got messed up. So yeah, no, I'm liking Vellum.
Nice.
Okay.
It's a great investment too. It's actually only a one-time cost. I think I got it on sale for like during some holiday or something like that, but for like $125. And
Microsoft Word is a one-time cost. You can buy that and own it for like
yeah, you could, but you wouldn't get the upgrades.
Yeah,
like most people now, like Microsoft's kind of like a subscription for the most part now.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking when mine opened today. I bought Microsoft Word in 2019. And,
okay. Yeah. So I mean, like,
fine.
Yeah, I do have Microsoft. I do actually have a Microsoft subscription. I just don't use that much.
So do you secretly hope to one day be traditionally published, or are you happy to be self-published for your whole lucrative career?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to be traditionally published at this point. I think when I originally started, I thought that was like the route. I think people are seeing it's not what it's cracked up to be anymore. It's, and this is really probably just more like, especially the people who have either published, self-published, or have like gone through the process of querying or things like that. And no, I mean, I would probably say like the only thing I would ever want to like do is like, hey, like if it wants to get picked up by like for something for like TV or movies or something like that, absolutely. Right. Like I have no problem like Netflix acquiring Chloe's Kingdom, then like bending it over a table and ruining it. Go for it. You know, like I'm all good with it. Like, oh no, they didn't. They, yeah, that's great. You put a number in front of me that works. Let's
Right,
do
that's
it.
right.
But no, but past that, no, I'm very happy indie publishing and having the control over it and not having to be one of those people on Twitter that's like, I'm querying. And it's like, you're never going to publish anything. It's like, I'm sorry. Unless like your book has, you know, I won't
Right.
go into it, but
First you have to get the agent, then they have to pitch it, then even if they pick it up, it's another couple of years before they oh God.
yeah, and then on top of it, it's like they're not even really doing what they used to.
Right.
When you go into it, they're like, what marketing are you going to bring into this? And like, what are you doing with this? And what are you doing that? It's like, I thought this was like kind of like the lower of going with you guys. Like, yeah,
Right, it's like, what do you do?
and stuff like that. But like, it's not hard to get into Barnes and Noble anymore as an indie author. It's like,
It's kind of like using a real estate agent to sell your house, right? It's like, I want to give you 6% to do what exactly now? Because it's not like in the old days where you had to take photos and get them developed and send them to a printer and make a little booklet and mail it out to people, right? And write ads and do all that. All you're doing now is putting shit online, which I can do for free because you do it for free. And you're getting an MLS number, right? And you can even do that by yourself now too. But, you know, why do I want to give you $30,000 to do that?
yeah, and honestly, like Amazon is like super easy like to use KDP. And I know you guys are familiar with it, but like super friendly, super easy to use. And
Unless you need customer service.
yeah, I haven't really had like to go down that route or anything like that. But and actually like their knowledge base and articles are fantastic as well.
Yeah.
So anytime I have to like figure something out, like they have an answer there. So yeah, so I'm very happy as an indie author.
So have you got any super critical reviews of your book?
Luckily, no. You know, everything on Amazon right now is 4 and 5 stars. I had one ultra critical review, just one, and it wasn't one that necessarily got like published. So before my book came out, I sent it to, you know, like kind of like those reviewing services, you know, like whether it be like Kirkus or what have you. I can't remember the one I sent it to. I know I sent it to one through Reedsy Discovery and got a great review. The other one I got, this person was, the best I can put it is like they were pissed at something and it wasn't me. Like, but they took it out on me. And it was also very like, it was just, I don't know, like they were very upset, and it almost seemed like they might even just like said like, I hate you, Dad, somewhere in the like, I don't know, they were just like really upset. And I was just like, okay, like, and and like it was before I came out with it, and so like I already had beta readers who like, you know, I have enough like close friends that will be like, they'll tell me like they're not afraid to tell me like what's going on. Oh yeah, there we go. 32 reviews on Amazon. But yeah, and so, but like, you know, so I already had like decent feedback, and then right before it was just like, okay, like one person liked, and this person was just like really pissed. And so I just brushed it off. Like I didn't even think about it. I was like, I can just tell like this person was just like hating on, like they wanted to like try to upset someone.
They were transferring.
Totally. Okay.
So KDP or Ingram Spark, who do you use to print?
I use KDP. I haven't like, I need to go down the route of looking at like Ingram Spark and seeing how all that goes. I've heard great things from it. And I want to look at like other printers, because I know you can get like better quality than KDP on certain colors and the way just like how it looks. And so it's something that I want to do. I know there's been a few indie authors that posted like some smaller presses, and they like show the two books, like here's the KDP and here's this one. And like, you could just tell immediately like the inks or the dyes they're using. It's just like night and day.
So Ro, you use KDP, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
See, I use Ingram Spark because when I got into it, people told me it's like, oh, well, if you want libraries to buy your books, you have to have your own ISBN and you have to go through Ingram Spark. And I am still waiting for that horde of librarians to find me and ask for my book. I will say KDP costs a little more.
Yeah.
I mean, my books, I think they cost $8 for Becoming a Druid in paperback. And I think, Ro, you're a couple
$8 for a paperback?
I mean, it's 400 and something pages.
It's a good amount.
But still, yeah, I mean, it's like $1 or so cheaper per book if you go KDP than versus Ingram Spark. But I was told, buy your own ISBN numbers, and I have 100 of them now. So by God, I'm going to use them. And I was told Ingram Spark because you can get cream paper, and KDP won't let you do that.
Yes, they do.
They do.
It doesn't matter.
I know you know that, yeah. Now.
So this is why I did what I did, and every time I buy books, I'm like, bro could buy these for $1.50 less per book, and but not that I'm bitter,
Probably the only other gripe I have with KDP is that, Ro, you probably know this, but like when you order author copies, especially paperbacks, but like sometimes you can get them and like they are just like trashed.
Yeah,
and it's not the shipping because the box is fine. Something in the printing process, it's like someone like dragged a knife dipped in ink across it. So I don't know what happens.
it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it's interesting because if you order, a couple dozen or something, you'll get one from a printer in Tennessee and one from, New Jersey or some nonsense.
I think because I'm in Scottsdale, mine always come from Vegas.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, mine always come from there because it says it in there, which is like, it always just says it in the book where it says like this was printed in Vegas. And I was like, oh, cool.
I won't make any Vegas references. That's fine.
Yeah, probably a safe bet.
Hey, Greg, have you ever seen this show before?
This show?
Yeah.
I've seen more sometimes when it's actually going live, I'll jump in and kind of watch for a little bit.
Okay.
And I watch clips here and there on it, but I haven't seen a full one start to end really
All
because as having a toddler around, I rarely get more than 20 minutes of focus.
Do you want us to go really long tonight so you have a little extra time?
Actually, I made a great deal with the wife, and I sacrificed some time earlier and helped out, and which bought me this time. So we're good. As long as you guys want to go. I know we start a little later, I think, than usual. You guys so I appreciate that. But
yeah, we're not going late. I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay. Yeah. As a reader, I'd rate them small press Ingram, KDP in terms of reader experience. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the most interested in checking out small press, especially I want to compare the colors, especially since my my novel is black ink primarily, and I've heard that that's one of the weaker colors that KDP prints in terms of and I'd love to see what the blues come out with from a smaller press.
Mike, do you want to run Chloe through the Bald Dome?
Oh, if we must.
Yeah, why not?
Have you seen the Bald Dome before?
No.
Okay.
Where have you been the last 5 minutes, Michael?
So we normally do this with fantasy authors. So we'll just.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, all right.
So what we do, I always tell people, is we want to know about your character, but we don't want to have you give away spoilers. So
perfect.
We are going to transport Chloe to a new place, new dimension, and they're all fantasy settings, so she'll have to adjust.
That's fine. She is very good at adjusting on the fly, like any person who orchestrates a heist. So she can adapt. Let's do this.
So she's going to get a fizzy potion. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color? Green.
So she's going to get a green fizzy potion.
Okay.
It's 100% effective whether she uses it herself or whether she throws it at her adversary, but you're not going to know what it does.
Okay.
And then she gets a choice. She can either pick a random regular item or a random weapon. If she gets the random item, she's going to face a regular animal. If she gets the weapon, she's going to face a fantasy creature.
Oh, okay.
We used to make it like gladiatorial, but then people were like, but my character isn't a fighter. Should they just run away? So now it's just tell us a story. I'll set the scene, and you tell us what Chloe does.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So Chloe is, she can be a risk taker. So she's going to drink the green fizzy.
Well, hold on. I got to roll the dice.
Okay.
The dice don't mean anything. He just likes the noise they make.
Exactly.
That checks out. That makes sense.
So Chloe has been transported to a subterranean labyrinth filled with traps and treasures.
A subterranean what?
This is literally my story. Okay, so she loves treasure, and there's some traps.
She has potion. It's potion number 12. Not that that means anything to anyone but me.
Okay.
So now
a little on before dinner,
So now the choice
Nice.
becomes: does she want a regular item or does she want a weapon? And the level of difficulty will go up if she chooses the weapon.
Wait, Dan M is saying choose a weapon. No one ever chooses a weapon. Is that true, or is he just joking?
He's my brother, and I will tell you should never listen to any of my brothers. But,
To be fair, very few people choose the weapon.
he's not wrong, but...
No.
Got it. Really, Chloe as a character, she would probably pick the item. If we're talking
regular item?
Yeah, regular item.
Okay, well, unfortunately, it's not a quilt like it was last time.
It's a shoelace.
Nope, it's a chisel.
Chisel. Okay, well, she can work with that. I mean, hey, got to escape some way. And...
The weapon would have been a flail, but that's okay. So now she faces, instead of, what the hell is number 1? So she does not face a griffin. Instead, she faces an African elephant and her calf.
African elephant or calf. Okay.
So they're in this underground labyrinth. Don't ask me how the elephants got there.
Following his calf.
She goes around. It's kind of dark. Her torch is getting low. She turns a corner, and there's the mom and her calf. She has her trusty chisel that she's been scratching the walls with so she knows where she's been. What happens next? Oh, and she has the green fizzy potion.
Well, I was going to say that she's going to drink the green fizzy potion.
Okay, well, that diffuses the whole thing because it is a potion of animal friendship.
Dude, do you do this on purpose?
No, I roll the dice.
The potions always seem to match exactly what they need.
Well, hey, so, how I see is Chloe just got 2 people on her crew. And, and so...
Bust out of this joint.
It goes, and now we're going to have a fantasy elephant adventure, and that will... And I'm happy to announce this is going to be the spin-off from the Chloe's Kingdom series. So yeah, it's gonna be great. And instead of her having, because for those that don't know, Chloe in Chloe's Kingdom has a pet raccoon who's very mischievous and has a bottomless appetite. And so now she's gonna have an elephant and a little elephant calf. So it's gonna be great.
So I think that'll really help with breaking in, but the whole getting away, I think, is going to be problematic.
No, it's just gonna be like a stampede. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like, if an elephant wants to go somewhere, the elephant's gonna go.
That's right.
Yeah, they look all great in the the savannah, but you don't want to be standing in their way. They're just gonna go through you. So
or you don't want to be behind him, because when an elephant has to go, it has to go.
It has to go. We've seen Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So
oh my God, not for years.
Never seen it, but details.
Really, dude?
Oh, big enough for
you're just embarrassing yourself now.
Now I am? Really? It's been this long before I did it?
I don't know. When I think of the chisel, I immediately go to just Shawshank Redemption. I just think of chiseling through that wall.
That little bitty hammer.
Yeah, a little bit of Hammer. Yeah, that's just what immediately my mind just goes to that.
Andy took that cell apart 4 ounces at a time over 20 years. Wore that hammer down to the nub.
I have seen Shawshank Redemption several
Oh
times,
well,
actually.
thank God.
Yeah, I'm still telling you that you should watch the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm not gonna let it go. I'll probably message you on Twitter every once in a while, just being like, "Hey, did you like watch it yet?" Because
I bought them. I just never watched them.
yeah, I mean, like again, like I know you're saying like you don't want the superhero stuff. It's not really. It's like, yeah, it's not the Marvel movies. I'll put it that way.
Well, that's good because really can't stand those.
So then, well, I'm just gonna jump back though for a second. So Mike, I assume you're a plotter and Ro, you're a pantser.
Oh, entirely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of horrifying because I plot out what's going to happen and I start writing, and my characters are like, "No, I wouldn't do that. I'll do that." I'm like, "But my plan."
Maybe you are a pantser and you're just, it's like fighting against it.
And my heist is all planned out, and then they're like, "No, I'm going to go over here and start whistling." And I'm like, "But no!" And then I'm like, "Okay." And I had to bargain with them, and it's really embarrassing to bargain with fictional characters because I never win. And I end up doing it their way, and then I have to rejigger the whole thing, and then it goes wrong again. And I'm like, "Why do I keep making plans that I know aren't going to work?"
Yeah, probably the reason why I don't do plotting is like, well, just like pantsing comes naturally to me, but like plotting also just kind of feels like homework to me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, once I sit down and do that, immediately once I start, I'm like, I don't want to be doing this right now. Like, I just want to like stop plotting and just start writing. And yeah, it always reminds me. Did you either of you guys watch the show Californication? David Duchovny.
No.
Well, in the show, he's a writer, a famous writer, and he's also kind of like a playboy type guy. But it's a really great show. But his daughter in the show told him, she's like, I want to be a writer, and he was like, why would you ever want that? He's like, it's like having homework for the rest of your life. And I was like,
the first thing you got to do is get an alcohol problem.
Spoken. I was like, that is like in a good way, but it's like, yeah, it really is homework for the rest of your life.
Kind of is.
So, Greg, how many books do you have in the back of your mind that you want to write? Do you have a number?
No.
Really?
No, I don't know. It's like, I certainly just want to write for the rest of my life. It's something I just enjoy, and I find it to be very therapeutic. But I mean, easily over 10, 10 or 12, but like, I just don't know. I mean, it's just, and I don't even know like what I'm going to write after Chloe's Kingdom. So I'm not really like, I'm not really thinking that far ahead. I'm trying to stay in the moment.
So I have in my back of my head, I want to write 17 books and 18 novellas. That's what I have in the back of my stories. I have in the back of my head that I need to write. So, yeah.
No wonder you're not watching movies.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah. And no, I mean, like, I don't know. I think all like, especially Chloe's Kingdom, like, it really just started with just like an image of the end, like one of the end scenes. And I was like, okay. And I literally just worked it backwards from that. And so I'm sure once I finish Chloe's Kingdom and I kind of like get it out of my system, something else will come, and I'll start just going off with that. And but what often happens though is when I'm writing a series, and I'm writing Chloe's Kingdom right now. I just finished the first draft. I'm like halfway through the edits of the second book, but I'm already thinking about the third one here and there, like little bits, little pieces, the end scene, things like that. But I find it hard to be thinking about other things I want to be writing while I still have. It's more just for me, it's like a laser focus thing where I wish I could be thinking about multiple stories.
See, when I get stuck, that's when I'm like, okay, I can't make any headway in this story, but what happens in the next book? And I just sort of start daydreaming. It's like, oh, that'd be cool. I was like, but if that's going to happen, I need to throw something in. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can. So yeah, I just sort of daydream about the next book and what are going to be the beats, and then see if that sparks anything.
I'm always envious though. I'm always envious when I like, because we're all part of the writing community on Twitter, and I'm always like when people are like, they're editing a book, they're writing a new one, they have like a secret side project and all this type of stuff, and I'm like, I just don't have that in me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, I got a full-time job, I got the daughter. It's like I just can't I can't take all that on like something will break and it'll be my brain. So
All right. Well, why don't you hold up your book one more time, real quick? Tell people where they can find it. You can hit this Amazon page where you can order this book. It's been scrolled across there.
Yeah. So Chloe's Kingdom, again, it's just an extremely fast-paced sci-fi heist with young adult themes, but really can be enjoyed by any age. And it has all the good stuff, all the betrayals that you would expect in any good heist story, all the twists, all that good stuff. And you can get it exclusively on Amazon. I have it in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover. So, yeah.
How many pages is it?
Yeah, it's about 336.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, and the chapters. I think we were talking about this maybe in the beginning or maybe before we started, but it's super short chapters. It's kind of like the style that I chose for this for Chloe's Kingdom, but like some of the chapters are only like 2 or 3 pages, which I truly believe is like, I hate to say it, but like I think it might be the future of books, because everyone's attention span has gotten like so short with all the distractions we have, our phones, everything that's going on. And so like often like myself, like before I started writing Chloe's Kingdom, it was always very daunting to like open up a book, or I read on Kindle, but like to see like it's a 40-minute chapter. And that's like a big commitment. And for me, like I like to be, it's like almost like a completionist type thing. I want to start it and I want to finish it. I want to finish that chapter, but I often don't have like 40 minutes sometimes. And so Chloe's Kingdom, it's like some of the chapters are like 2, 3, 4 minutes long. And so it's like, it's something where you can just pick it up right before bedtime and just be like, I'm going to read one chapter. But I've also been told that short chapters can be quite addicting. So fair warning, you could just keep going with them. You're like, oh, I can't read a 40-minute chapter, but I can read 22-minute chapters.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say, that's the thing, is like, oh, well, the next chapter is only 3 minutes. I'll stay up.
I mean, yeah, it's, I know this will be the last thing before we wrap up, but there was a few books I read where, was it The Atlantis Gene by A.G. Riddle? Have you guys read that?
Mm-mm.
It's a really good sci-fi novel, and he wrote in that style where a lot of the chapters are just like 1-2 minutes. Sometimes it's just like literally like I have it in actual paperback, but it's like sometimes you'll flip and it'll just be a page. Or like I read some novels from Ben Coase, which is like kind of like a action type story. And some of the chapters are just like 2 or 3 pages, but I burn through those in a day. I burn through those stories in a day. If a book has 20, 30, 40-minute chapters, like I'm reading Mistborn right now by Brandon Sanderson.
Ugh.
And it's like, sometimes it's like 48-minute chapter. I'm like, clear my schedule. Like I gotta like, it's like, this is a guy, and I need to like find like somehow I'm gonna read it like right when I wake up, like, and I have to wake up early for it, or I have to read it before I go to bed because there's no time of the day to read that. So yeah, very bite-sized chapters in Chloe's Kingdom, and you're going to see that in book 2 and in book 3. That's going to be the theme.
Nice.
Well, I think also if you're marketing it towards young adults, it's probably a really good plan to have it like that, right? Because when they get assigned stuff in school and the teacher says, "Oh yeah, you've got to read these 7 chapters," and we've all done it, where you hold up the book and you go, oh, damn, right? It's like, I
Yeah.
hope there are a lot of pictures in this book, right? And
Yeah.
so that's a good call on your part.
Yeah, and there was also the design of it being like a heist story. Like heist stories are
Ocean's
really all
11-year-old.
about pacing. It's all
Yeah.
about the pacing, and so like if you have super long chapters, I think you lose a bit of the pace.
Yeah.
And so it's like, boom, we're going to a next POV. We're going to the next person. We're going to the next person. And it's like, it just the pages keep going, and so. But yeah, no, guys, I really appreciate you having me on tonight. This was super fun. Hopefully we can.
Finals, we'll have you on again.
Yeah, no, like fingers crossed. Let's see if we make it to round 2, and then yeah, maybe when book 2 comes out as well.
Cool.
And really quick before we go, John 4, 2-word chapter is entirely too short. You need to rethink that. All right.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if someone was joking, but I saw it on like the Bookstagram where someone said like Brandon Sanderson wrote like an 88,000 word chapter.
Well,
yeah.
that's just dumb.
Oh, well, he'd probably call that a novella. Oh.
Yeah, no, it was like, but I don't think it was a joke, and I was like, that's longer than my book.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm like, yeah, it's just like, oh, I don't know. But I think we all saw like the images of like the Wind and Truth book where it's like, like Bible thump. But
yeah.
All right, guys, I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight. What's next on the agenda there, Mike?
We have a show on Thursday.
This Thursday?
Packed schedule.
Wow.
And give me a second here as I pull up Bald&Balding, and I'll tell you who's next.
I'm doing the same thing. So whoever gets there first, I guess.
All righty. It is Chris Ritchie, another Small Town Problems, another person from Spacebo.
Nice.
He's also
Cool.
got a review for his book. I'm not jealous at all.
You hide it so well.
Okay, well, thanks, Greg, again, and we'll talk to you again when you get a new book out or when you're a finalist or whenever something great happens to you.
When the Netflix adaptation comes out, I will gladly join.
Yeah, don't
All
forget
right.
us then. Yeah.
And thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. We appreciate it. And
Thanks,
we'll
everyone.
see you Thursday.